Well, it's been a minute, Matt, since we did this.
Oh my God, it's been a while, man. But thankfully we've kept in touch throughout then, and so much has happened, especially like NFL free agency, the Super Bowl passed by, and then March Madness is around the corner. A lot's happened, but
Uh,
thankfully we've stayed on top of it.
well, we'll talk about March Madness in a little bit because I know that there's going to be a lot of the madness begins tomorrow with these first four playing games and
Yes.
talk about who's going to be in the Final Four and who's going to take it all because we all know that the East bracket, which we'll get to in a minute, that's probably the deepest bracket out of the other brackets.
Yeah, because you got five coaching legends all in one bracket on the East region. It's actually crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got Bill Self, you got John Shire, who's already on the rise.
Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino. I mean, he got that national title vacated when he was at Louisville.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And then you also add in Tom Izzo as well.
I want to see
Uh,
Tom Izzo get another trophy in his hands because he hasn't won one in a long time.
it's been a minute, and I think he wants to try and win one more before he calls it a career.
And then Florida with Todd Golden, they are a potential dynasty in the making.
Yeah,
Again,
a young team that has a lot of good chemistry and a lot of good height. I think that they're a threat to watch in their bracket.
and then
Although
UConn with Dan Early, I think they have a potential dynasty too.
they took a bump against St. John's in the Big East Championship, but I think they'll pick it back up in the early rounds.
But we got to talk about football first. But the Super Bowl. I mean, the Patriots did things that we didn't expect them to, but in the end, you have to admit Seattle was, I think, the better team.
Yeah, I think throughout this postseason, New England played very well defensively, and their offense did as much as they could, which is points were hard to come by for the Patriots offensively, but they did enough to win games, and I think their defense was a part of that. However, when it came to the Super Bowl, it took 3 quarters for them to get points on the board, and I think part of it is because of the inconsistencies of Drake May in said Super Bowl, and I think part of it was how good Seattle's defense was. It was, and like you said, I think Seattle was the better team, but I think overall, I think this is a growing experience for New England, and I think that Mike Vrabel has his team going in a positive direction.
Oh yeah, you definitely see that. And I thought, with New England's playoff run, I mean, we all knew they would beat the Los Angeles Chargers. They beat Houston, and then I think they would have still won the game if Bo Nix was healthy, just because
Mm-hmm.
I felt like New England would have had a great game plan to stop Bo Nix, but Jarrett Stidham, I didn't think came ready to play.
No, he did not. And I think another factor that you got to remember is that the weather for the AFC Championship game was not desirable. And I think you do make a good point. If Bo Nix was starting, it probably would have been tough either way. The result probably would have been the same, but I think that it would have definitely been tougher for New England.
Oh yes, I mean New England definitely has a bright future, and as for Seattle, I mean nobody thought the Seahawks would win the Super Bowl with that roster. I'll tell you, because every year or every time when a new pope is elected, the Seattle Seahawks are the number one team in the NFL.
That's correct. Yeah, I remember that. That was such a coincidence that you brought up.
And that trend started it back in 2005 when Pope Benedict was elected, and then it came again when Pope Francis was elected, and then now now it's Pope Leo.
Yeah, it's pretty much a coincidence, but Seattle, I think time after time, whether it's Pete Carroll, whether it's Mike McDonald, who I didn't expect to be a Super Bowl champion, they got the job done. And I think they played really well. And I'm happy for Sam Darnold because the journey he's been on to get to this point is extraordinary.
Yeah, he's had some rough times throughout this journey because his career, everybody thought his career was washed in with the Jets.
Yeah, and then he tried out in Carolina. That didn't work out. But I think when he was in San Francisco as a backup, Kyle Shanahan takes credit for bringing him back to life. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and then I think Sam Darnold has made Seattle. He's basically the man again in Seattle.
Yeah, he's reborn. He's reborn.
The Like if you talk about the end of last season for football, the rebirth of Sam Darnold was probably the number one storyline.
Oh, absolutely 100%. And I think that, you know, the way Seattle has been this offseason has not been desirable. And seeing Kenneth Walker go was kind of shocking. But Seattle got the championship that they wanted. And I think it was a really well balanced effort by Seattle overall.
And I still think Seattle's a very solid team if you look at it.
Yeah, they're still good. And I think that a reborn Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I guess Zach Charbonnet is going to be their new starting running back.
Zach
They got
Charbonnet, I think since Seattle didn't want to pay Kenneth Walker, I think Zach Charbonnet is going to be the guy I think they pay attention to.
Yeah, I think that Charbonnet is going to get a lot more reps. I know that Kenneth Walker usually held the fort down, but maybe this is Charbonnet's chance to prove that he's got something to give.
Oh, I think so too. And then another storyline to talk about is a career first for MVP for Matthew Stafford, and age doesn't even bother Matthew Stafford.
Not at all. And I think it was great seeing his 4 daughters on stage with him when he accepted the award. I thought it was really cute to do that. And I think that Stafford, with an MVP award, I think he's got 2 or 3 more years left in the tank. I think he's still got it.
Oh, the Rams, I mean, even though people say the championship window for the Rams is slowly closing, I think people gotta understand that it's not closing as long as, like, Sean McVay's around, or if the Rams brass drafts well, which I know they do.
Yeah, the Rams have had a pretty good draft record in recent years. And they did beef up their secondary. They re-signed Cam Curl, and they also had a couple
Trent
DBs.
McDuffie's going to be great for them.
Yeah, the Trent McDuffie trade I liked a lot. So I think the Rams are still proving that they're going to hang in the NFC for as long as they can. I'm interested to see what happens with life after Stafford, but I think the Rams are not too worried about that.
I don't think they are, because Sean McVay is like one of the best coaches that we know.
Yeah, one of the best of this generation.
Oh yes, because he calls a great offense. He does a great job in everything. But I think that Matthew Stafford winning an MVP was historic, and I felt like it wasn't really a shocker to me because he finished ahead of Drake May in the voting.
Yeah, listen, Drake May had a great season, and he was getting MVP chance everywhere he went. But it seemed like Matt Stafford was more consistent throughout the season. And I think Drake May, like I said, great year, but I think Matthew Stafford just edged him out.
And then for Offensive Player of the Year, it's Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think, Seattle's offense is built around this guy,
He's something else. It took him a couple of years to develop, but I think once DK Metcalf left, he became the hottest receiver in the NFL this past year.
Well, I wish this guy was on a Super Bowl contender, but he's on the Cleveland Browns. But Myles Garrett winning another Defensive Player of the Year is not a surprise to me.
Well, when you break the NFL single season sack record, there's only one way you can go as far as picking your Defensive Player of the Year. It's just a shame he's on the Browns, but the honor that he got is much deserved.
Oh, yeah, I wish he was on a team like the Patriots or the Chiefs or something like that amongst those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But being on the Cleveland Browns, come on.
Yeah, I mean, you could do better than that.
Yeah, the Browns are going nowhere.
Yeah, and they got a new head coach. They're going to try and figure it out.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but what were your thoughts on Teora McMillan getting the Offensive Rookie of the Year? I think he's proven to be a number one target for Bryce Young.
Well, Tetra McMillan, I thought, was a really productive season for his rookie year. Definitely became a good target for Bryce Young. I'm a little bit upset that Jackson Dart didn't get enough respect, but then again, the Giants didn't really do him justice this year. So I think Tetra McMillan was a good option, and I think he delivered.
Carson Schwenksinger, Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Cleveland Browns. You already know that. You know Myles Garrett's their best player. They found another gem on defense.
I mean, thank God the Browns defense actually produces. I think once they get their offense straightened out and they have a new head coach, which we'll get into later, I think that the Browns defense is going to be really good. Their offense is going to be in question.
Well, and then for comeback player of the year, Christian McCaffrey basically had a season to remember.
Yeah, and the Niners were banged up last year. They had a lot of injuries, but the way Christian McCaffrey came back, it was just a really good sight to see him back in his true form. It's almost like he didn't lose a step.
And then Mike Vrabel, man, my guy really changed the New England Patriots and restored the Patriot way in year one. And I was very pleased about that.
I mean, you look at the best. This is the best regular season turnaround ever. Think of it. Patriots were 4-13 last year. They improved by 10 games this year, and I think that if you're a Patriots fan, you feel like you're back. And I think Mike Vrabel has a lot to be proud of this year. Obviously, it didn't end with the Super Bowl ring, but I think you can say this is arguably the greatest turnaround in recent memory.
And then Josh McDaniels being the assistant coach of the year, which I didn't think was a surprise.
Not a surprise at all. But when your second year quarterback is getting MVP chance everywhere he goes, I think that just that just tells you how great the coaching has been for him. And Josh McDaniels has been exceptional.
And I think the Patriots, the season that they had this year, it tells me that they're going to be really good next year, which we'll talk about their offseason moves in a little bit.
Yeah, the schedule's going to be harder, but I think they can handle it.
Oh, yeah, because Mike Vrabel is the right coach to get these guys ready for a tough schedule.
Absolutely.
But now to these head coaching hires. We'll start with the first on the list that we really like. I mean, we didn't get a chance to talk about this back in January, and we talked about it on the phone about how ecstatic you are about the New York Giants hiring John Harbaugh, the ex-Ravens coach, to be the new head coach of the New York Giants. And the Giants needed a coach that was proven, that had a track record of Super Bowls and playoff success to get this team back to winning football, and the Giants made a splash at head coach.
And I can tell you right now, it's already paying dividends. When we get into the offseason acquisitions the Giants have made, it's like a list of the stuff that they've done since John Harbaugh became the new head coach. The way he commanded the room in his introductory press conference, the way the players showed respect in the media, his presence at the press conference, it was just like perfectly set in stone for how this was going to go. And John Harbaugh is determined to bring this team back to prominence. And I think that when we get into the offseason, I literally wrote on my phone the amount of moves the Giants have made. And it goes pretty long, but he's trying to establish a culture, and I think he's doing a great job.
The other hire I liked was the Atlanta Falcons bringing in Kevin Stefanski as their head coach. I mean, you got to get a guy that is going to develop a West Coast offense around this young core that they have. Although Atlanta's defense is still in a work in progress, but I really like this hire for the Falcons and hiring Kevin Stefanski as their head coach.
Honestly, behind John Harbaugh, he was probably the second best coach available. And I think he went to a really good system. I think that Michael Penix Jr. or Tua, which we'll get into later, I think the offensive skill position players that this team has, they're going to benefit with his offensive mind. I think Stefanski got screwed over by the Browns, and I think he's going to make amends for that in Atlanta.
And then the AFC East has two new head coaches. I mean, the Bills, even when they let go of Sean McDermott, I didn't think it was his fault for why the Bills lost that heartbreaker to Denver. I felt like Terry Pegula just made him the fall guy.
Yeah, and the way Terry Pegula went about it was unprofessional. And I think that it really made Buffalo look bad. The good thing is he did go within the organization. And he did bring in Joe Brady as the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills. I think it could work out.
Oh, yeah. Josh Allen likes Joe Brady.
Yeah, and they've worked together as offensive coordinator and quarterback under McDermott. And I think that when you have a good cohesive play caller quarterback tandem, it could work if he becomes a head coach. I think the players respect Joe Brady as well.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, you and I thought that if Zach Taylor would have been fired, I would have liked Joe Brady and Cincy to kind of bring back the LSU vibes with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and yet Zach Taylor still has a job.
and the players back him up, which we'll have to talk about how it's upsetting that the Bengals are keeping a guy that just it's not really working.
I mean, one thing I will say about Zach Taylor, if the players respect you, that's great. It's kind of like Brandon Staley when he was coach of the Chargers. The players went to bat for him, and eventually things ran out of steam, and Brandon Staley would go on and get fired. But when it comes to Zach Taylor, if Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are going to bat for you and standing to ownership and saying keep this guy, that's all you can ask for. But I'm waiting to see Zach Taylor prove that he's deserving of the job, and he hasn't really proven that since Super Bowl 56 when the Bengals made the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, the Bengals haven't had that much success since that unexpected Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah,
back in 21.
I'm waiting for him to repeat what he did, and he hasn't been able to repeat.
It's because he's been hurt.
Yes.
And then the Dolphins, they hired Jeff Hafley. They brought in a Green Bay Packer team there in South Florida. So,
yep.
Jeff Hafley comes from the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field to the sunshine in Miami.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Miami Packers over there, and in Miami because they brought in a couple Packers who, as well, from Matt LaFleur's coaching staff that went to Miami. So it's pretty amazing and coincidental how Miami's adopting the Green Bay system, as well as bringing in a couple players who used to play for Green Bay, which we'll get into later when we get to our acquisitions. But Miami's trying a new look, and so far, we'll have to see how they do in the draft.
Well, the AFC North has two new coaches. We'll start with the Cleveland Browns hiring Todd Monken, who was going to be the Giants' offensive coordinator. Yep. John Harbaugh was fired as Ravens head coach because he refused to fire Todd Monken, which I don't blame him for that.
Yeah, I feel like John Harbaugh wanted to stand by his principles and keep Todd Monken, and he got fired for it, which I think was silly. I think Baltimore might pay the price for that long term. But Todd Monken, as the head coach of the Browns, I think he absolutely could help Shedeur Sanders out a little bit. I want to see Shedeur Sanders change his attitude a little bit because I feel like the guy still has a chip on his shoulder from getting drafted so late. But I think now that he knows that he's going to be the Browns starter, I think that this opens the door for him to make a splash, make an impact with a new coach.
I think he can. I mean, he just has an attitude problem because knowing that his father, Deion Sanders, hyped him up too much.
Oh, yeah. That's 100% true.
And then the Ravens. Jesse Minter, I think, was a solid hire. I mean, he's going to help the defense of the Ravens get better. I think he's going to bring a lot of physical toughness to them. Although the offense of the Ravens is still going to be very effective with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers. So I think the Ravens are still a very solid team.
And I like the fact that they've been trying to prove that they're trying to justify that Jesse Minter was a good replacement for John Harbaugh. They tried to make a big splash trade with the Raiders, but that didn't go through. But they are aggressive on the free agency side. Although they did lose quite a few players to the Giants, which I think is only telling as to how things are going when now John Harbaugh's in New York. But I think
I'm saying the Ravens have, like I was saying, you got Lamar, you got Derrick Henry, you got Zay Flowers, and then you got Mark Andrews. That is still a very good offense in Baltimore.
Like they're still going to contend for the AFC North, but I think that this team is definitely different on paper.
And then the Steelers. We don't know what they are just yet, but I think Mike McCarthy, being the head coach of the Steelers, I think it's good. I like that hire for the Steelers, honestly.
I like it too because this is the guy who grew up in Pennsylvania, grew up in the Pittsburgh area. He's a guy that, as a former Super Bowl champion, my only question is, what is going on at quarterback? Is Aaron Rodgers going to come back? Is it going to be Will Howard time? Like, I'm still waiting.
Here's the thing. Mike McCarthy said he is a fan of Will Howard, but Mike McCarthy also didn't rule out a reunion with Aaron Rodgers.
Like, the way I can see this going is you could probably see Aaron Rodgers come back for one more year and then maybe turn it over to Will Howard next year.
Well, I think I think if I were Aaron Rodgers, he should call it a career. But knowing that if your former boss in Green Bay is the head coach of the Steelers, man, this is a great opportunity for Aaron Rodgers to kind of redeem himself.
Yeah, he didn't play up to his standard this past year, first year in pinstripe in black and yellow. But I think Mike McCarthy definitely brings back continuity from Green Bay, and I think it will help. But I do think one more year, because Aaron Rodgers is 42. I think that one more year with Mike McCarthy, and then I think you send it over to Will Howard. I think that'd be a good plan for Pittsburgh at quarterback.
Well, then the Titans. I thought they were going to hire Matt Nagy because there's a Kansas City connection with Mike Bergazzi, the general manager there. But I felt like Robert Saleh ended up being the right hire just because I know it didn't work out for him in New York with the Jets. I think Tennessee's a very good place for Robert Saleh.
And you also got to mention that they hired Brian Dable, former Giants head coach, as their offensive coordinator. So they got two former New York head coaches in Tennessee, and I think that they're taking a step in the right direction with these hires. I think their coaching staff has definitely improved, and I think that the team is in a positive direction.
Oh, of course. I mean, now that you got skill position players to work with Cam Ward, and I think Cam Ward, is in a better place to succeed now than he was last year.
Yeah, Cam Ward with Brian Callahan as his head coach, I think that it really showed the lack of talent around him and the lack of urgency around this organization. But they've changed their ways.
I think they have, but I think they've taken a positive direction over the Indianapolis Colts. And we talked about off air, Carly Ursay-Gordon is going to be at a point where she's going to be like, I'm going to get my own regime, own people, because I didn't hire Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard.
Yep, her dad did.
And her dad liked them.
Yep.
And now Carly Ursay-Gordon's like, do I want to change things up? Because I didn't like how last season ended for the Colts.
Well, it's a tough situation for the Colts because they're in a situation where they started the season off so well, but then things fell apart. And now you're under new ownership. It doesn't bode well for the Colts, especially for Shane Steichen.
Oh, yeah. You're absolutely right about that. Just because it doesn't bode well for that. But now we stay in the AFC and we talk about, man, I really like this hire for the Raiders because they've had inconsistencies with longevity with their head coaches. And Mark Davis had been one and done with Antonio Pierce and Pete Carroll. Now, I think Clint Kubiak is the guy that I think the Raiders are going to build their long-term future with. And I like this hire for the Raiders because you're setting up Fernando Mendoza for success on the offensive side of the football in his rookie year. Already.
It's a good start. It's a good starting point for the Raiders. I think they still have a lot of work to do. And they officially did turn the reins over to Fernando Mendoza because Geno Smith was released and is now a Jet. But the Raiders, they have a lot of work to do. But I think if you want a good head coach, Clint Kubiak's a good starting point.
Well, and then he brought in some Seattle people with him to kind of help with the offense and defense. So the league that we're in, because now it's a passing league.
Yes.
I think Raider Nation is already excited and eager for Fernando Mendoza to wear the silver and black, which we already know is a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, honestly, when it comes to the number one overall pick in the draft, that's kind of a no-brainer what the Raiders are going to do. I think that, like I said, they got to really work hard to turn this ship around because right now the Raiders have been in futility for the last couple decades.
And you think Clint Kubiak is going to make this team a better team on the offensive side of the ball and also improve on the defensive side of the ball for the Raiders?
Well, they averted disaster losing Max Crosby, but I think offensively they should definitely be better.
And then staying in the West, I mean, the Arizona Cardinals, they hired a head coach that is definitely going to turn around their culture and also make an impact on the offensive side of the ball, and that's Mike LaFleur. I mean, Arizona is kind of like an up and down situation, but I really think Mike LaFleur is going to be a great head coach for the Arizona Cardinals.
And I think that he's got a good starting point to work with. Now, I'm curious as to what's going to happen next season in
Well, here's the
2027.
thing: they got Gardner Minshew. It looks
Right.
like Jacoby Brissett's probably going to be their starting quarterback until their rookie quarterback, whoever they draft, is ready.
Yeah, and like I said, this class is not worthy of a first round pick. This quarterback class is not worthy, with the exception of Fernando Mendoza. This class is very lackluster, and I think Jacoby Brissett's a good bridge quarterback for 1 year. And I think after that, it's gonna be interesting to see what Arizona does.
What do you think it does for the offense for the Arizona Cardinals? I feel like it's going to help benefit guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. be a number one receiver that the Cardinals are looking for. Trey McBride is going to look so good in that Michael LaFleur system.
Yeah, I think overall the Cardinals have a lot of good talent around them, but they need to be coached properly, and they were not coached properly. And now Kyler Murray is gone.
Oh, yeah. This is kind of like, what is the thing here with Arizona? Because I think Michael LaFleur is the right coach for them, and I think it's about him implementing a good system. And I think the offense is going to be there for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, like I think the team overall looks really good. I'm just interested to see how if they can put up a 7-8 win season because I think the NFC is loaded now, and I don't think Arizona can compete with Seattle or LA. Maybe and not even San Francisco. Like they're kind of stuck in a really talented division.
The NFC West is a talented division, and the Rams, they're probably not going to be easy for them. I know everybody's excited to see Sean McVay go up against Michael LaFleur and twice a year.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a nice coaching matchup.
And then he goes up against Kyle Shanahan twice a year. That's also going to be a lot of fun.
And then also Mike McDonald, who's a pretty fiery guy, proven in his first 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think we went over all these head coaching hires, but when it comes to the free agents, we got to talk about before we get to the Giants, when I know you have a long laundry list of them.
Oh yeah.
Our first free agent question is, now that Kyler Murray is a Minnesota Viking, I told you off air that when I get Matt in NFL 27, I'm definitely going to start him over JJ McCarthy just because I think Kyler Murray is the better quarterback. I think we might see him have a resurgence in Minnesota, which I think he will because he already has a good supporting cast in Minnesota with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Aaron Jones. He's set up for success already in Minnesota.
I think the Vikings are trying to compensate for the fact that them releasing Sam Darnold was not the best thing that they could have done. And listen, I know JJ McCarthy's your guy, but I think in 2 years he hasn't really done much to prove to me that he can, one, stay healthy and two, be consistent. Because think of it, he made Justin Jefferson look bad last year. That's hard to do. So I feel like if for JJ, I don't know if he was developed improperly, but if you want to get him his confidence back, you need him to observe another quarterback who knows the system, knows the NFL offense, and get him his confidence back. I feel like Kyler Murray could do it.
And then a new era in Miami for Malik Willis. I really think for a full season, I think he can really be a solid quarterback for the Miami Dolphins.
And another Green Bay Packer who's now a Miami Dolphin. I mean, Malik Willis is blessed with Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane and Malik Washington and all the skill position players they have around him. I think that Miami can make it work.
Oh, yeah, and Jeff Hafley, who was a head coach before, I think he will be a good leader of men for the Miami Dolphins.
Yes, I'm really fascinated to see how that coaching quarterback combo works because it's definitely interesting and kind of unexpected. But if it pans out, Miami can pat themselves on the back for that one.
Oh, absolutely. And then for my Patriots, I'm going to tell you how excited I am to have Romeo Doubs on the Patriots because you know how Pop Douglas is our new Julian Edelman?
Yep.
Romeo Doubs is our new Danny Amendola. And I think Josh McDaniels gets small receivers that he turns into number one guys. And even though that we released Stephon Diggs, Romeo Doubs, I think, kind of helps with the passing game for Drake May.
I agree with you. I think that Romeo Doubs is kind of the unsung hero in the Green Bay offense, and I think that he'll translate well with Drake May. I feel like he'll probably be the number one receiver with Kayshon Boutte as the number two receiver in New England. I think the Patriots are going to be really good offensively again. I just think that they're going to be in a little bit of a tougher schedule, but I think that if you want to have a good, stable offense, Romeo Doubs is definitely a good pickup.
Oh, yes. You pair him with Hunter Henry, Travion, Ramondre, and Drake May. And then they also got Elijah Vera Tucker. I think this was a great move for the Patriots to help with the left side of the offensive line.
And it was a good pickup because the Patriots offensive line took a beating in the Super Bowl. So they definitely learned from that.
Definitely they did. And then a trade in the AFC East. I mean, DJ Moore now a Buffalo Bill. You talk about that Joe Brady offense already taking shape.
Yep, and I think that people are kind of low on DJ Moore, but I feel like DJ Moore was a really, really good target for Josh Allen. And I think that, the Bills have been a receiver factory. They're trying to find their true number one receiver.
We all know Keon Coleman hasn't worked. It hasn't
worked.
Knox.
No, it hasn't. So I think DJ Moore was a good pickup because Keon Coleman has not lived up to the expectations he has. And definitely
they kept Knox, which I think was great. I knew he wasn't going anywhere.
Agreed. And he'll probably be a good two tight end set with Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, they need that in Buffalo, that's for sure. And I think that the Bills also did a good job with getting DJ Moore as well.
Yeah, that's probably your number one receiver. And I think Josh Allen likes that.
And then the Jets. I mean, really, could you do better than Geno Smith? This is why I'm saying the New York Jets are probably going to be the worst team in the NFL again this year.
Well, Geno on the offense is not good, but what was okay was they got Minkah Fitzpatrick to help their secondary. But other than that, they really didn't do anything else besides Geno, and Geno's not really going to do anything. It's just like one of those things where it's like they needed something to replace Justin Fields because it wasn't going to work out.
And Justin Fields is already in Kansas City, which I think he's going to do. I think it's going to be better for him to sit behind Patrick Mahomes, who's been there, done that. And then we talked about the Chiefs getting Kenneth Walker, which I think is going to help with the dynamic of the Chiefs offense, which I think the Chiefs are ready to have a revenge tour this upcoming season.
And I think Kenneth Walker definitely helps your running back room because if you look at the Chiefs running back room, Isaiah Pacheco, Prashard Smith, Kareem Hunt, two men are kind of washed, and then Prashard Smith is inexperienced. But if you want to add a spark to that running back room, Kenneth Walker is the perfect player for this Chiefs offense.
Oh yeah, but I know you're excited about this. I mean, I really like what the New York Giants did this offseason. I mean, I think my favorite offseason move so far is getting Isaiah Likely because Isaiah Likely is now going to be a Pro Bowl tight end for the G-Man. And even though there were guys that you were not happy about losing, like Daniel Bellinger and Wan'Dale Robinson, John Harbaugh wasted no time in finding other guys in free agency.
And a good amount of them happened to be Ravens. You get Ardarius Washington for your secondary, former Raven. You got Jordan Stout, who's the Ravens punter. You got Isaiah Likely, as you mentioned before. We got Patrick Ricard, their fullback. This is great for Cam Scatterbo.
Oh, boy. Are you saying that you like the Patrick Ricard signing because he's going to help open up lanes for Cam Scatterbo in the running game?
Absolutely. Like that's I think one of the reasons why he got him. Like fullbacks are very rare in football now, but Ricard is one of the best of them.
Oh yes. I know you liked all of them, but Darnell Mooney, although he's had a down year in Atlanta, I think the Giants are going to use Darnell Mooney as a reclamation project.
You mentioned Darnell Mooney. That was a good pickup to pair with Malik Neighbors. But we also got Calvin Austin from Pittsburgh, another good receiver to add to the receiving core.
You also add a guy that's going to be good on special teams too.
Yeah, like up and down all around. And we re-signed Jordan Illuminar. We brought back Evan Neal. We basically tackled every single position for both sides of the ball in some way, shape, or form this offseason. And we haven't even gotten to the draft yet.
Yeah, I mean, and then here's the thing about the Giants. I mean, you gotta. Now, here's the question: what are you gonna do with Darius Slayton now? Because he's a guy that you've not been high on lately.
Yeah, honest to God, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, the Giants got to make some cuts because of all the moves that they made. They got to cut a couple players. You'll probably cut Jalen Hyatt because he has amounted to nothing. I guess give Darius Slayton one more shot. I guess, but overall, cut Graham Gano, cut Jalen Hyatt, cut all the people that
I
haven't
would
really
cut Graham
contributed.
Gano because Graham Gano is probably one of your reliable kickers that can kick from 50 plus yards.
Well, we got Jason Sanders from Miami to solve that problem.
Oh yeah. Now I think you got to change the kicker situation in Big Blue.
Yeah, like the Giants are basically revamping this roster and from top to bottom, and I love it.
And then you talk about defense. You were not happy with how the defense blew games last year, and I feel like guys like Abdul Carter and guys like Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, they're going to benefit, and Dexter Lawrence, they are going to benefit with John Harbaugh.
Like this defense looks really good. I know losing Bobby Okereke, our middle linebacker, sucks, but we brought in Tremaine Edmonds to help out with that. And I think that we brought in Micah McFadden too. We extended him. I think our defensive coordinator, who we got from Tennessee, I think is going to be really good for this defense.
Oh, Denard Wilson, who you got?
Yes, yes.
And then you got Matt Nagy as your offensive coordinator. I know you're on the fence with him, but I feel like it's going to work out.
I mean, I want him to prove me wrong because I feel like he's set up nicely with skill position players and also Jackson Dart. I feel like he's set up nicely, but now he's got to put in the work and make it work.
Oh, I think he will because I think Andy Reid taught him the things he needed. He learned, you know.
True.
And I think that the Giants, I think the Giants so far are like the big winners of this off season.
Oh, it's them, and it's not even close because they've been active and aggressive every second of every day this offseason. And I love it.
And you said the Eagles haven't done much, but I'm like, I told you off air. Doesn't matter what the Eagles do this offseason. They still have a relatively good roster, and you still have a proven defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio.
Yes, that's true. But if A.J. Brown is gone, that's a bit of a hit that they're going to take.
I don't think it will be just because, my God, Devontae Smith's going to be the number one, and I know Devontae Smith is a viable piece for the offense.
It is, but you mentioned defense. We'll go back to defense. They re-signed Jordan Davis, which I thought was really good. However,
they also kept Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, that was smart on their part. But you lose Reed Blankenship, you lose Nakobe Dean, you lose Jalen Phillips. Those are key defensive pieces. Like this defense is top heavy. I think what made them good in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago was depth. Now they don't have depth. They're all about their top guys. They're top heavy. And I feel like top heavy teams don't typically go very far, but this Eagles team is talented all around. So I think they should be okay.
I mean, you're right. I think we could see that, and then we also know that the Cowboys, man, they didn't do anything. They're not doing anything much except for tagging George Pickens.
Yeah, that's really the only major thing they did.
And we know it's not. And we know that's not. And we know the Cowboys are in salary are in a. They don't have a lot of cap space.
No, they do not. They're in what I call cap hell, meaning that they're going to have to keep track of their financial moves with their players and try to work around the cap. But they're over the cap, and that's a problem.
For the other free agent quarterbacks that are still out there, where do you think Kirk Cousins goes? Because I heard the Raiders to kind of back up Fernando Mendoza. I'm like, Kirk Cousins is not really a starting quarterback at this point.
I mean, he's still reliable as a backup. I think that if you want to mentor Fernando Mendoza, I think Kirk Cousins would be a good option to be a backup. But I think that I initially had him going to the Jets, but now that Geno Smith is in New York again, I think it justifies that maybe Las Vegas would be a good spot for Kirk.
And then Aaron Rodgers, does he retire or does he play for Mike McCarthy?
I give it one more year. I think Aaron Rodgers will come back for one more year, and then he turns it over to Will Howard.
Oh yeah, and do you think? And you said the Eagles are probably one of the biggest losers this offseason. Do you think there's another team that's a loser too?
Good question. I actually have the Seattle Seahawks as a loser as well, and the reason why is because letting Kenneth Walker go, I think, was not the best thing to do because he was Super Bowl MVP. So that's kind of a red flag there. But then you also lost Boye Mafe on the defensive side. You lost Tariq Woolen in your secondary. You did extend Rashid Shaheed, but you didn't really compensate for anything else.
Rashid Shaheed, I think, was a good keeper, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think keeping him basically he's a good all-around player.
Yeah, he can do everything. He can return kicks. He can catch the ball. He could do runs in the backfield. Like, he's all around talented. But if you wanted a good running back tandem, I don't know where Seattle goes. Maybe they'll draft a backup running back for Charbonnet. But I think the teams that do well in the NFL have a good 1-2 punch at running back. And with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, they were perfect together. Now you got to find another running back to pair with Charbonnet.
Well, and then now we got to talk about. I mean, now with coaches on the hot seat heading into next year, for me, my top two right now is Aaron Glenn and Todd Bowles, and I say those two because Aaron Glenn is probably, I think, inheriting a bad roster, and Woody Johnson is no stranger to firing coaches after 2 years.
And I think the biggest problem with Aaron Glenn, unfortunately, is that the team just doesn't seem to be putting in a lot around him to help him. Because I feel like Aaron Glenn, like you said, inherited a bad roster. And I feel like fans wanted him gone after last year to begin with. But coaches rarely go one and done. Rarely. And I think that Aaron Glenn to be fired after 1 year would have been really disrespectful. Because the problem is, I don't think the Jets could find anyone that wants that job to begin with. But Aaron Glenn is a dead man walking. And then you mentioned Todd Bowles. Tampa Bay has not been excellent since Bruce Arians gave Bowles the job as head coach. And I would also throw in Zach Taylor of Cincinnati just because he has the players' backs. Like, the players have his back. But if Cincinnati has another subpar season, I think this could be the end for him.
You know, Zach, here's the thing about Mike Brown. He wants to work. He likes working with head coaches for a long time, and he's very patient with them.
Yeah, and I get that. You don't want to go through the coaching carousel, but if something doesn't work, something doesn't work. You can't just keep dragging it on.
Did you feel like that? Are you kind of concerned that it could be another Marvin Lewis situation?
So far, it's looking like that because I feel like while Mike Brown respects Zach Taylor and the players love him, I feel like if they're just content with having a good coach, that's not going to take them anywhere far. I think that you're just asking for the same thing over and over again.
Oh yeah, Zach Taylor's. I think Mike Brown's going to have to step up to the plate,
big time. Yeah, he's gonna have to.
He's very obsessed in keeping coaches for a long time, which I respect him for doing that, but he needs to understand that Zach Taylor isn't working right now.
Yeah, like, listen, he's very conservative, Mike Brown. He's very conservative with making sure that that they have a stable head coach. The problem is when the coach doesn't work, you're gonna have to make changes.
Well, here's the thing. The other thing why Mike Brown gets backlash in Cincinnati, he always overpays for offensive skill position players,
Yes. Yes.
and he's very cheap on the defensive side of the football and offensive linemen.
Yep, and that is exactly why Trey Hendrickson walked.
And as he should, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't waste his time playing for a defense that's so atrocious.
Yeah, because the Trey Hendrickson Cincinnati saga has been going on for 3 years, and I'm glad he got out of there because he wasn't going to get anywhere over there.
Now, what do the Bengals do? Go from there defensively. Now that you know Joe Burrow is going to be healthy, you know you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown being the catalysts on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what Cincinnati goes from here defensively. They'll probably have to draft a couple really good defensive players in the draft. That's the only thing I can see them doing.
They haven't had a defensive player that's been that good since Geno Atkins.
Yeah, I think you're right on.
And Geno Atkins was a lifer of the Bengals.
He was.
And I think Mike Brown didn't want to let that guy go because of what he did for that organization.
Yeah, so now you got to fill in the void that Trey Hendrickson provided. And keep in mind, Trey Hendrickson's one of the better defensive ends in the league. So you lose that production. Now you're going to have to, at least, like I said, draft defensive tackles from college. And I think this class has a lot of good defensive tackles. But
the thing about the Bengals is I'm cautiously optimistic that they're going to be a very good team this upcoming season, but I still have concerns. I love Joe Burrow. I love Jamar Chase. I think they're going to be fine, but I just think the defense needs to be physical and in your face.
yeah, and you have every right to be cautious about them because they're not a complete team. One can be only so offensively dependent. You need a defense to help you.
And the Bengals are an offensive dependent team.
Yes, exactly.
And if the Bengals don't win the division in a wide open AFC North, then Zach Taylor is bye-bye.
Yeah,
finally,
I can agree with you. Yeah.
Bengal fans are going to be happy.
Yeah, and like the players might not be, but listen, it's a tough league. There's a very short grace period in the NFL. Sometimes it's what have you done for me lately? And Zach Taylor over the last 5 years, since bringing the Bengals to the Super Bowl, have not really done much.
No, I mean Joe Burrow has been hurt. I mean last year he was hurt a lot, and I'm hoping that I think Joe Burrow next year, I have a good feeling that he's going to have a very good season. And I know you and I are going to enjoy watching the Bengals because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I want to see Joe Burrow. I want to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in the playoffs, and we haven't gotten that.
But I do have concerns about the Bengals because I'm always saying, is their offensive line going to be enough to protect Joe Burrow? And their offensive line depth is thin. And I don't really like their offensive line depth at this time.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. I think like the Bengals are definitely, there's definitely concerns.
They are definitely concerns for the Bengals. And then Cleveland, who I feel good about what Todd Monken's going to do for the Cleveland Browns.
He's going to have to develop a rapport with Shedeur Sanders.
And he is a fan of Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, that's why they hired Todd Monken in the first place, because he wanted to work with Shedeur.
And I think Shedeur is going to change his fortunes around Todd Monken.
Like, I will say this. Shedeur Sanders did not deserve the Pro Bowl appearance that he got, but he does have something to give.
We all know that he has something to give here, but and I'm like, is Cleveland going to keep Njoku? I'm like, Njoku's already past his prime.
Yeah, and keep in mind, they're probably going to lose a lot of players because the Browns are well over the cap too. So they got a lot to
what are your thoughts on this move for the 49ers? They got Christian Kirk. I mean, now that you don't have Ayuk or Samuel, Christian Kirk provides that little stability for that offensive for the receivers for Brock Purdy.
I think it's a good move. I think Christian Kirk is very reliable. And I think the Niners need dependable wide receivers. They also got Mike Evans from Tampa Bay.
We got to talk about that. I'm like, why did Tampa Bay let that Mike Evans walk? That was stupid.
Yeah. Honestly, Tampa Bay did not have a good offseason.
I mean, Emeka Ibuka, who I like, he's their new number one.
Yes. And I think the reason why they probably let Mike Evans walk was to make room for Emeka Ibuka, and also because Mike Evans had an injury-prone year in 2025. So now they're thinking that Emeka Ibuka is going to take over, and also Tez Johnson, and maybe even Chris Godwin to an extent. But Tampa Bay is not nearly as good offensively as they were with Mike Evans.
The Buccaneers, I think, have taken a step back this offseason, and I feel like that come September, we're probably going to see the Buccaneers be a team that's just not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, and I mentioned this before before we started recording. We said that Carolina is catching up to them, might pass them as the team to beat in the NFC South, and I firmly believe that.
What about the Bills? Not only they got DJ Moore, I think Bradley Chubb is going to be a great pickup for their defense.
It's definitely a good choice, and I think that if you look at the Bills, their defense was okay to begin with, but I think getting Bradley Chubb I thought was a really good move for their pass rush.
Oh yeah, I mean that defense of the Bills is still going to be good, and then the Titans also got Solomon Thomas, and then that's another Robert Saleh disciple in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's a move that only Robert Saleh can make. You know, he wants to be on the defensive side. We know Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded individual, so he's going to be on the defense, kind of like how Brian Dable got Wandale Robinson and Daniel Bellinger to come to Tennessee.
And then maybe Juwan Jennings, who's a wide receiver, he can play for the Titans, and to play for Robert Saleh, because I think he loves Robert Saleh.
It's definitely possible that we could see a move like that made.
Well, now we got to talk some baseball here. Let's first start out with our division picks since we're at it.
Okay.
Let's start with the NL West. We already know who's going to win that. I'm picking.
Yeah, that's obvious. That's too obvious.
To win the division, getting Kyle Tucker, getting Edwin Diaz, and they're the most complete team in all of baseball right now.
Yeah, honestly, I can't see anyone catching them. I'm interested to see if there's any other playoff teams that come out of that division.
Like the Giants, we don't know about the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, and I think the Padres window, they sold their farm system for all these for all these players, and they fell short in the wild card round against Chicago. Now I think they're just kind of stuck.
Oh yeah, no, they have a talented lineup and all that, but you're right. They are definitely a team that's just stuck in mediocrity.
Same with Arizona.
Yeah, and then we all know Colorado is probably not doing anything. They're going to be in last place in the division again.
Oh yeah, big time.
And then in second place, I think it's between. I don't know who's going to be in second place, to be honest with you.
Yeah, second place is really hard to tell. Honestly, between the Giants, Padres, and Diamondbacks, I don't know if either of them deserve a playoff spot.
No, I don't think so either. We all know the Dodgers are going to be in the playoffs. We all know that.
Right, that's obvious.
And we all know that the Dodgers are one of the best teams in all of baseball, and they always are a destination for free agents.
Yeah, and I think that, I mentioned it, I said it last year. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm going to say it this year. They might have a shot at breaking the 0-1 Mariners record.
We'll see if they're all healthy, because they're not always healthy during the season and they have guys healthy at the right time.
Right. And one thing I will say is winning 117 games is very, very difficult.
I don't think any team would do that, but let's go to the NL Central. Yeah. Who I think wins this division. I picked the Cubs because they got Kyle Tucker. They got Alex Bregman. And I think the Cubs have really shown that I think they are ready to compete. I think they are a couple of bullpen pieces away, or a guy in the rotation. In the rotation away from that,
Yep.
So I'm going to pick the Chicago Cubs to win the division, and I think Milwaukee's going to be one of my wild card teams.
I agree with that. I think Chicago getting Bregman was absolutely huge. I think that Milwaukee is still good. I think that they're not going to be as down as they were last year. I think Milwaukee's definitely a wild card. But Chicago, to me, they're probably going to get a top 2 seed in the National League. And I think after Milwaukee, that's it.
Oh yeah, Milwaukee, Chicago, you're 1-2, and then you forgot about the Reds. They're a sleeper with
Oh,
Terry
yes,
Francona
that's right.
and Ellie De La Cruz.
That's right. All right, Cincinnati might sneak in the wild card. I'd say they'd probably get a 6 seed.
And then the Cardinals are a long way away. And then
Same
the
with Pittsburgh.
Pirates are probably going to be in last place just because Paul Skeens is good, but I didn't think they did enough like getting Brandon Lau, and they got Marcell Ozuna. That's not enough for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Nah, I feel bad for Paul Skeens because I feel like they're wasting his potential over there.
And then the NL East, who I think wins this division. So you and I so far picked the Dodgers and Cubs to win their divisions in the NL.
Yes.
I think in the NL East, I'm going to pick the Philadelphia Phillies. I just think I like their rotation. I like their lineup. And I still think the Phillies are a very strong team.
I like Philly, but I'm going to go with Atlanta. I think with this team fully healthy, and I think we talked about before we came on with that, they've added a lot of pieces, and they got new management. They got their replacement for Brian Snicker. I think if this team is healthy and in a new management, I think that the Braves can do well. And I have them winning the division because you got to figure they're going to be healthy for a full 162 or close to that at some point, right? You got to figure they bounce back.
Oh yeah, because I have Milwaukee as a wild card team. I have like as a 5 or 6 seed because I think your 4 or 5 seeds to me are going to come from the NL East. Like my second place team is the Braves, and they're going to host the New York Mets for the 4-5 game.
That's fair. I mean, you did bring up one thing. I think the NL East will probably get 3 playoff teams in there. That's why I was bullish on Cincinnati because I think Cincinnati, is not as good as the Mets, and they're not as good as the Phillies, and they're not as good as Atlanta. That's why I have the Cincinnati Reds out. But I think they could make a push for a playoff spot. But I don't think they get it.
Oh yeah, and then your 1, 2, 3 is going to be the Phillies, Braves, and Mets, and then I think the 4th place team is going to be the Marlins. I think they're slightly better. I mean, even though they traded Edward Cabrera for Owen Casey, I mean, the Marlins, I think, are a very solid young team. I think people are underestimating their front office.
Absolutely.
And I think they're doing a great job, but they're not there yet.
Yeah, they're not there yet. And then Washington is just bad.
Oh, we're going to see another awful season for the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, it's such a shame because this franchise won the World Series in miraculous fashion several years ago, and they haven't been able to get back to playing good baseball.
Well, we already talked about our wild card teams in the NL, but now we switch over to the AL. We'll start with the AL West. Although I think Houston still has a very good team, I think Texas is going to be good. I think my winner for the AL West is going to be the Seattle Mariners.
I agree. I think that Seattle is the obvious choice because this team is coming off an ALCS appearance. I think that the team is talented all around. I think Houston's taking a step back after missing the playoffs. I do like Texas. I do want to keep an eye on the Sacramento A's. I think the Sacramento A's are not going to get a wild card spot, but they could definitely make things interesting in the playoff race.
They definitely have a very good lineup, and I like their lineup with Nick Kurtz and Jacob Wilson. I mean, they have a very youthful lineup that they have.
Yeah, and they're a very fun team. Like last year, they gave the Astros fits last year.
And then the last place team is going to be the Angels. We don't know.
Pretty much.
We just don't know where they're going.
They're directionless.
And then in the AL Central, I am picking to win the division. I am picking the Detroit Tigers.
I want to say Detroit, but I am very, very happy and confident about Cleveland. I think the way the Guardians have been, I think that this team up and down is very youthful, very talented. And while Detroit does have Tarek Skubal, the best pitcher in the league, they only signed him for they did not actually I think Detroit could be good. And the reason why is because they did bring Framber Valdez into their rotation, which could really benefit and take the pressure off of Tarek Skubal. I like Detroit and Cleveland, and from there I don't know who wins the division, but I would probably lean towards Detroit.
And then you talk about Kansas City with Bobby Witt, Cole Reagans. That's a very good team there.
It's a good team, but I'm just not sure if they can get a wild card. It's going to be very tough.
And then the Twins, Derek Shelton. I don't know what they were doing with Derek Shelton.
Yeah.
They're not going to go anywhere. And then the White Sox, Murakami, I still think they're a couple years away.
Yep.
Because I think the White Sox and then trading Luis Robert didn't help do them any good.
No, it did not.
So the White Sox are just stuck.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Minnesota. I think firing Rocco Baldelli. I don't understand the meaning behind that. Rocco Baldelli was very popular, and they got rid of him, and I don't like that at all.
And then you talk about the AL East, who I picked to win that division. The way Toronto played last year, they were outstanding. I mean, so close to beating the Dodgers in the World Series. And I feel like that this is a team that even though that they lost Bo Bichette to the Mets, I'm going to still pick the Toronto Blue Jays to win the AL East.
I want to say Toronto, and I hate to be biased, but I'm going to say the Yankees. And the reason why I'm going to say New York is because even though they're mostly running it back with the same team, they still can produce. And you're going to expect Spencer Jones to be called up the way he's been playing in spring training. You're going to expect George Lombard to be called up at some point the way he's been playing in spring training. I think that other than Ryan Weathers, this is basically the same team so far. But the way they brought Cody Bellinger back, that was huge. Bringing back some of the guys that were contributors last year was massive. You're going to get a full season of Cam Schlittler. My big question is, can Garrett Cole come back? Because I think he's the big piece that we're missing.
Oh, yeah, you got to pair him with, like, Max Fried. I think if you look at it, I think the Jays are in first, and then you got two wild card teams from the AL East. Second and third place to me are the Yankees and Red Sox.
I like Boston. I think that the problem with Boston is them losing Alex Bregman kind of stung.
And then 4 or 5 is a toss-up for me between Tampa Bay and Baltimore. But I still think the Rays are good. Kevin Cash, I think, is a very good manager.
I mean, we're kind of sleeping on Baltimore a little bit because let's not forget they did get Pete Alonso, which is huge for their lineup.
Yes, I mean, Pete Alonso was definitely big for their lineup.
And I think Baltimore, I can justify them being third, but I think Baltimore might have something to say about that.
Oh, yeah, getting Pete Alonso, and then you also have a very good young core with, like, Colton Cowser and Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, like the team is built well.
And then Tampa. Shane McClanahan, you got Junior Caminero, and you still have a very good Tampa Rays team, but I don't think they're going anywhere with that roster.
Yeah. It's sad because they really haven't figured it out. They play in a very talented division, and they're just kind of fifth wheeling it at this point, and you hate to see it because you like the moves that they make. You like that they have Shane McClanahan, but they really don't do anything else.
No, they don't. I mean, their farm system's really good, but they just don't. I don't think they attract free agents.
They don't. They really don't.
And then for award predictions, I'm picking for Rookie of the Year. For the American League, I'm going to pick Trey Savage. He didn't have a full season, but I think Trey Savage is my pick for AL Rookie of the Year this year.
I like that pick a lot. I think that he had a phenomenal postseason. This kid is beyond talented compared to the rest of his generation. I also like Cam Schlittler, who's going to get a full season this upcoming season. So I like Trey Savage. I think it's a good pick.
My NL Rookie of the Year pick's going to go to Nolan McLean of the New York Mets.
This is the guy who really came on the scene with a bang for the Mets. It's a shame that he came on too late and the Mets end up missing the playoffs, but a full season of him, I think he's going to put up great numbers for a starting pitcher.
Manager of the Year. Man, for American League Manager of the Year, I'm so disappointed that the voters had to snub this guy for it, but I'm picking John Schneider as my Manager of the Year for the American League.
I can agree with that. I think that John Schneider had a strong case last year, didn't get it, and I think that I think the voters are gonna pick him this time.
You know, I'm not picking Pat Murphy again, although I love Dave Roberts. I'm not going to be too biased with who I'm going to pick for NL Manager of the Year.
Okay.
My pick for NL Manager of the Year is going to be Craig Counsell of the Chicago Cubs.
I like that pick a lot. I think the Cubs are on their way to having a phenomenal year. And Craig Counsell, I think, can get this team to play for a full 162, and I think have a really good postseason run.
Well, you know, last year's Cy Young winners are Paul Skeens and Tariq Skubal, but I am not going to pick them this year to win the Cy Young. I'll tell you that.
Oh.
This year, my Cy Young Award winner for the American League is going to be, I'm going to go Garrett Crochet of the Boston Red Sox.
Honestly, I can't be mad at that. He can go 7 innings very well. Like he pitches very well through 7 innings. He can even go a complete game. But I think Garrett Crochet is the heart and soul of that Red Sox pitching rotation. And I want to make an argument for Max Fried, but I think Fried starts the season off strong, and I think he probably crashes, and he crashed towards the end last year. But I like Crochet.
I think it's going to come down to this for the voting for the Cy Young Award. Your top 3 finalists are going to be Crochet, Tariq Skubal, and Max Fried.
Yeah, Tariq Skubal, I think, still has it, and I think he's going to prove himself that he deserves to get paid more with Detroit. I do think Crochet has the edge, though, over those two men.
Oh, yeah, that's why I didn't pick Tariq Skubal.
Yeah.
And then for the NL Cy Young Award winner, you know my show league last year, Paul Skeens made history in being the youngest winner to win Rookie of the Year and Cy Young Award for the Pirates last year.
Yep.
But I'm not picking him this year. Not just to disrespect him. I think he's going to be in the running, but he doesn't have the full-on run support that he's given in Pittsburgh.
Right, that's true.
My pick for the NL Cy Young Award winner will be, I'm going to pick a Dodger, and it's going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who was just named the opening day starter for the Dodgers, which I kind of knew it was coming. The reigning World Series MVP is going to have another stellar season, and I think he has the offense to give him plenty of run support, and I think Yamamoto loves pitching in big games, and you know I already love him.
Yeah, again, I kind of expected you were going to do that, but I can't argue against it. I mean, this guy Yoshinobu Yamamoto is one of the best in the world at pitching. And I think
talk about that splitter. Oh my God, that's
the split finger fastball is amazing.
He pitches a very live fastball at 98 miles per hour. He has a great split. He has a good splitter. That's filthy.
He's just got all the tools to be a phenomenal pitcher in this league.
Is really good too for Yamamoto, but I think that splitter is just
nasty.
It's nasty. Like no one can hit off of that.
No one's figured it out.
No one figures out hitting the splitter and all that. But I think you have him, and I think Roki Sasaki's going to develop that fork ball.
Yeah, Sasaki, I think, is a little rough around the edges. He was a little rough around the edges last year, but I think if you want to put him in a full starting role, last year they tried to put him at closer and it didn't really work out. But
I mean, it did.
It kind of did.
But who do you think you're picking for the National League Cy Young Award winner?
Honestly, I think Yoshinobu Yamamoto is the logical answer.
No, I
because,
think if you look at who I think will round out the top 3 in the votes, I think Paul Skeens will finish second.
of course,
And then I think in third would be Logan Webb.
Logan Webb, maybe Freddie Peralta.
Yeah, or maybe Zach Wheeler when he comes back healthy.
Mm.
And then another guy that I think is ready to come back fully healthy, Spencer Strider of the Atlanta Braves.
Right, that's a good pick too.
And then let's go to MVP. Well, I feel like this is a yearly award for these players. And my pick for AL MVP is going to be Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees.
And I think it was close. It was a close race last year with
It
him
was
and Cal
between
Raleigh.
him and Kyle Raleigh and Bobby Witt Jr. And I think
Yeah,
those are your top 3. I think Mike Trout will round out the top 5 once he's
that's a
healthy.
good way to. That's a good
Mike
analysis.
Trout, even though he's on a bad team, he's probably going to round out the top 5 in the AL MVP race.
Oh yeah, and like one thing I want to mention about Aaron Judge, this is a guy who just defies logic. I mean, it seems like the older he gets, the better he gets. It's just like it's one of those things where it's like you expect guys at the age of 33 or 34 to be on the decline. He hasn't shown that. If anything, he's only getting better at areas that people at 33 don't do. And yes, the strikeouts are still kind of high, but he just finds another way to amaze you every year. Now, the Cal Raleigh thing, it was the greatest season we've ever seen from a catcher. But I think that he can't follow up what he did last year. Last year was just insane. I think Aaron Judge is MVP in my eyes.
Oh, yeah, and then second place will be Kyle Raleigh. I think third place will be Bobby Witt Jr.
I actually have Bobby Witt Jr. coming in second and Cal Raleigh in third.
And then fourth would be Jose Ramirez.
Right, that's a good choice.
And then fifth would be Mike Trout.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Because Mike Trout, we all know that I feel like Mike Trout's going to have a very good season. And I expect that from him every year. But as long as he stays healthy, I think Mike Trout's going to be in the MVP conversation, which I would expect to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is him staying healthy. He hardly ever stays healthy. But I like that you mentioned Jose Ramirez. I think that he's always the consistent hitter that the Guardians
And
have.
some other sleepers too, like Stephen Kwan, who's a consistent leadoff hitter.
Yeah, he's good. And then I also make me think Julio Rodriguez has a chance to make some noise.
This AL MVP race is going to be insane this year.
Oh, it will be.
And then my pick for NL MVP, I know you're going to know who I'm picking. And this
Ohtani.
is I'm picking Shohei Ohtani because I think Shohei, like Aaron Judge, he defines logic. He's only like 31. I feel like his prime years were wasted with the Angels. I feel like Ohtani is I think Shohei Ohtani is going to hit 60 home runs this year, and he's going to steal a lot of bases. He's going to be in the Cy Young race for the pitching, but I do expect Ohtani to just light it up this year with the home runs.
It's possible. I mean, there's really no one else you can give this to. It's almost like he wins it unanimously now. It's amazing.
I think who finishes in second in the NL MVP race, I'm going to say Juan Soto. I mean, he had a slow start to the season last year, but he ended up finishing the season on a good note. I think this is the year I think Juan Soto is going to be an all-star this year.
Well, Juan Soto played very well towards the end of the year. You did mention one thing. He did start the season slow, but think of it. This is year 2 of a 15-year contract with the Mets, and now there's going to be more pressure put on him to deliver now that Pete Alonso is gone, and I think he needs to step up to the plate.
That's who's second in my MVP race for the NL. My third place finisher will go to Fernando Tatis Jr.
I can't be mad at that. It's a good choice.
And then my fourth place finisher will be Kyle Tucker, who I love. You know, I'm a fan of Kyle Tucker, and I love this kid's. I love Kyle Tucker's ability to hit for power. He's great defensively in the outfield, and I love that. I'm happy he's on my team.
And honestly, I think to round up the top 5, you could probably go with someone from the Chicago Cubs.
Oh yes, like Alex
Bregman, PCA, Seiya Suzuki.
Oh, I love PCA, man. He is a force.
He has grown over the course of the last couple of years.
And then I think Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman are going to get some MVP consideration as well.
They could, and one person I mentioned from the Cubs, maybe Seiya Suzuki deserves some attention.
And then you talk about guys like Jackson Chourio.
Oh yeah, the youngster from Milwaukee.
I love that kid on the Brewers. That kid
he delivers. Yeah.
And then I love my guy Lindor. He's probably going to get up there in the MVP race.
Yeah, probably.
And then Bryce Harper.
Always a threat. Schwarber.
Harper and Schwarber are definitely going to make this NL MVP race very interesting.
I think the way you look at it right now, there's a lot of talent in both leagues. And it should be interesting to see who can knock off Judge or Ohtani off their pedestal.
Are you saying it could be Kyle Schwarber? Because Kyle Schwarber hits a lot of big Schwar bombs.
He was getting consideration at one point last year. At one point, there was hype surrounding him for the MVP award.
And then I think Ketel Marte will get some consideration too.
Yeah.
And then I think Paul Skeens, but I think Paul Skeens is probably going to be a Cy Young runner-up.
I think he's better off with the Cy Young than an MVP award.
Because I think Paul Skeens is going to put up ridiculous numbers, but he's probably going to have some outings where I think if you play against the Dodgers, he's going to get hit around.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how he actually won the Cy Young last year, despite the lack of run support that he got.
It's because he posted a good ERA, and he also posted a good ERA. He also had a high strikeout number.
Yeah, and I think that's what did it. That's what did it.
Well, before we talk about March Madness here, talk about a little bit of the NBA. Talk about the Nets being one of the teams eliminated from the playoffs. And I know we're not going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets because there's no need to.
No, it's kind of pointless at this point. They did beat the Detroit Pistons recently, but there really haven't been a lot of bright spots this year.
Oh, the Pistons are probably going to be in the finals. I think we're going to see the Pistons and Thunder in the NBA Finals this year.
I wouldn't rule out San Antonio.
Why are you telling me not so fast with that?
Because the San Antonio Spurs are the 2 seed in the Western Conference. They have been dominant against really good teams. And I think that Victor Wembanyama has been an absolute monster in every category, and he's got a good supporting cast around him. And this team beats up the Thunder every chance they get. So don't sleep on the Spurs.
Okay, so before the season began, I was telling you that, look, OKC's going to repeat. They have a great team. They have a great cast around SGA and Chet Holmgren. I still think they're going to repeat, but if San Antonio can knock them off their pedestal, it would be the storyline of the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely, especially because this is the first full season without Greg Popovich, and you see this young Spurs team doing the things that they've been doing. It's kind of remarkable.
Jason Tatum now back for the Celtics. Do you think that this is kind of boosting their title hopes now?
Boston, I think they just happened to call him up at the right time. 10 months after injuring his leg, he looks like he hasn't missed a beat. Getting triple doubles.
Tatum still looks like the Jason Tatum that I know to me.
Yep, and think of it, we didn't think he was going to come back this year at all.
And the Celtics weren't supposed to be the 2 seed without Jason Tatum.
That's right.
And then the Knicks. I like this Knicks roster with Jalen Brunson and Mike Brown. The Knicks are going to be a very solid team in the playoffs this year.
Like the Knicks are always going to make things interesting. I think that, last night they came back down 21 points against, I forget who it was, the Golden State Warriors. They came back down 21 to the Warriors. So the Knicks can make things interesting. Also, I don't know if we should mention this, Bam Adebayo getting 83 points one game.
Oh, that's something. And then the Lakers are 3 seed, but in my 2K league, it's a little different because Denver's too good for them,
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, how did Luka even made that shot to win the game over Denver? I'm sure you know what? I kind of want a Lakers Nuggets playoffs
Yeah, here's what I think. If you get Denver in the first round, I think you can beat them. But if you get matched up with San Antonio second round, that's where I think things end.
If the Lakers play OKC in the second round, then I think that ends for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Because OKC is just too good for us, and there are two. I feel like the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference final is gonna be. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, and
I'm
I
telling
think
you.
like and I think people need to embrace the fact that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is probably the face of the NBA. He can score 20 points easily in his sleep. He actually broke Wilt Chamberlain's record for most consecutive games with 20 points.
Oh yeah, I think. But I was predicting Pistons Thunder in the NBA Finals because I want to see SGA go up against Kate Cunningham in the NBA Finals.
I mean, the Pistons have come a long way, and they definitely are a threat in the East. But I feel like a team like San Antonio can prevent a Pistons Thunder matchup from happening.
Who could prevent it?
The Spurs.
Why do you think the Spurs can prevent that?
Because I think they can beat the Thunder in a best of 7 to make it Pistons and Spurs.
It could be that, or it could be Spurs Knicks,
Mm.
which I think Spurs Knicks would be really good.
That'd be fun. That would be fun.
That should go 7 games.
Yep.
But now for March Madness. I mean, this is our favorite time of year. You said earlier in the show the East bracket looks like it's really loaded.
Yep. I mentioned it with the coaches. You got Sean Shire, who's turned out nicely for Duke, is the 1 seed. 2 seed, you have UConn and Dan Hurley, back-to-back champions at one point. 3 seed, you have Michigan State, Tom Izzo, trying to win one more before he retires. 4 seed, you have Bill Self with Kansas, and then 5 seed, you have St. John's with Rick Pitino. And the Johnnies are hot. They won their second Big East title for the second year in a row. And like that region just looks stacked to me.
And then you said Florida's in there too, because I really
Um,
think
so
Florida
Florida is in the southern region, which is they're the 1 seed in that region. And if they do come out of the South, they face Duke if Duke wins the East.
Oh, if you talk about one of my Final Four picks, I have Duke representing the East region for the Final Four.
Yep.
And you said they would potentially play Florida in the Final Four.
Potentially Florida, or if not them, probably Houston.
I'm going to say Duke, Florida. I want to see the young coaches and Todd Golden and John Schneider. I like no disrespect to Calvin Sampson in Houston. They've been so close many times, but I think in my first Final Four, I want Duke and Florida.
All right. And then in the West region, Arizona's the top seed. And if you're looking for other contenders, Purdue is in this region. And then you also have Arkansas as well as Gonzaga.
My other Final Four, who did you say the number 1 seed was in the West region?
It's Arizona. And then in the Midwest, there's Michigan.
My Final Four in that other bracket, I'm gonna go Arizona and Michigan, and I have Duke and Michigan playing for the national title.
And it's interesting you say that because they did play in late February in Washington D.C.
Who? Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that matchup, and then my winner for that would be Duke cutting the nets.
I don't blame you one bit. If you look at Cam Boozer and how he's been,
Cam Boozer's like Carlos Boozer.
Yeah, he takes after his dad.
You know I'm a Duke guy because I love the history of that college basketball program.
Oh yeah, listen. I think the way Mike Krzyzewski passed the baton to John Shire. John Shire, you mentioned to me before. John Shire was being groomed for years before he got the job.
Oh yeah, so that's who my pick is for the national title and who cuts down the nets. I'm picking Duke to beat Michigan.
Well, in my bracket, I have a couple brackets. I have Michigan winning in one, and then I have Duke winning in a couple. I also can see Houston maybe cutting down the nets. My thing is, like, Michigan is so well balanced and so talented and a lot of depth and I think that they're definitely a threat. And I think that if they do get matched up with Duke again, Duke won by 5. I think it might go to an overtime game if we get Duke and Michigan again.
Oh, what about? I think if you look at these teams, I think there's going to be a sleeper team that's going to be the unexpected.
Well, my unexpected team, I like, and this is out of the East region. I really like St. John's.
Why St. John's? They're not going to be like a Cinderella team with Rick Pitino.
Well, there are 5 seeds, so I wouldn't really consider that a Cinderella. But I think that Patino has this team ready to play. This team beat the brakes off of UConn in the Big East Championship.
Oh, what about Seton Hall with Shaheen Holloway?
Well, unfortunately, Seton Hall didn't make the tournament this year. This was an all-around iffy year for the Big East.
Oh, they should have been in.
Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate Seton Hall didn't get the quality wins that they needed.
Shaheen Holloway wanted to return to his alma mater to coach them and make them a perennial contender.
Now, in fairness, they did win NIT a couple of years ago.
So I'm kind of thinking who in the NCAA tournament is going to who I think is going to be that Cinderella team. If I'm pulling up the bracket right now, I mean,
Sure.
You said St. John's might be a sneaky good team.
Yeah.
Because Rick Pitino had his national title vacated by the NCAA because of cheating.
Yeah, back when he was the head coach of Louisville.
And then now he's at St. John's, and I think St. John's is a good place for him.
It is. And you want to know why? Patino is a New York kind of guy, and St. John's they play their games in Madison Square Garden. It's New York. I think it fits him like a glove.
Oh, it does. He's still one of the best coaches in college basketball.
Yeah, he at this point in his career is probably one of the better coaches in the game.
Do you think McNeese is going to be a sleeper?
So McNeese, I like a lot. They lost their head coach Will Wade to NC State, and they won I think it was the South Conference, but they got a tough matchup in Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt could be really good too, but I think Vandy's inexperienced. But McNeese could really if you look at the bracket, 5-12 games are interesting because 12 seeds can come out on top sometimes. But I like McNeese. I don't think they can beat Vandy though.
Oh yeah, McNeese might not beat Indy like you said.
Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah, McNeese and Vandy, and then I'm looking. I think Hawaii may or may not advance, as you know.
Hawaii's good. The problem is Arkansas, who now have John Calipari as their head coach. That could be a tough one.
Calipari's probably going to sleep on people, you know?
Yeah. Although you are right, Calipari does not have a good March Madness history.
Oh, no, he does not.
Like, even going back to his days in Kentucky, he hasn't been good in March Madness.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't. And then what about Furman? Remember when they beat Virginia, when Kevin Harlan made that amazing call? When he said,
I remember
Furman
that
leads.
play.
Remember that play
I
when the guy shot the ball and it went in?
Well, I remember before that, on the back end, Virginia, the guy threw the ball right to Furman, and then they hit a 3 to take the lead.
That was a bad way to lose a game.
Oh, horrible way to lose a game.
And I'm like, why would Virginia blow a game like that? That is ridiculous.
Now, Virginia is back in the big dance too. First year without Tony Bennett.
Oh, Tony Bennett is one of the. I think Tony Bennett won. He was the reason why he won them a national title.
Yeah, and think of it. The year before, they lost to UMBC in the first round when they were a 1 seed.
And what about Auburn? I mean, they're without Bruce Pearl too.
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't make it. Although the story you want me to tell you. Keep an eye on this team from the MAC conference. They're playing in the first 4. I'm talking about Miami, Ohio Redhawks. They
against
had a
SMU.
they're playing SMU. So Miami, Ohio had a perfect regular season, 31-0. They lost in the quarterfinals of their conference tournament. Akron ended up winning the MAC conference, but Miami, Ohio got the very last at-large bid, and they're going to be playing in Dayton against SMU in the first four. Whoever wins that game will play Tennessee in Philadelphia in the first round.
Oh, we are. I think we're gonna. I think this March Madness is gonna be good. So I picked Duke to win it, and did you say that you had like Duke and Houston winning it in like different brackets too?
I like Duke and Michigan, and I think there's a good chance we might see Michigan cutting down the nuts.
Well, and then is it also possible that we see UConn form another dynasty because Dan Hurley has gotten this team to dynasties.
I think if UConn runs into Duke in the Elite Eight, that might not be possible. But I think in future years we could see UConn back on top.
And then Florida with Todd Golden.
I mean, Florida's good. I mean, they racked up a lot of wins late in the regular season. They started off so poorly, but they bounced back, and now they got a 1 seed. I think they can make the Final Four at the very best. Whether or not they can win back to back, that'd be a tall task. I think anyone who runs into Duke is in for a fight.
What about for the women's? Who do you think is your kind of Final Four national champion for the women's side?
Okay, so I can tell you undisputed who my champion is on the women's side. It's definitely UConn because
I agree, 100%.
Like perfect season, you can't go wrong with that. And I think that South Carolina can always be a threat. I think people got to understand that. I think that UCLA is always competitive too. I think people don't sleep lightly on UCLA. And then Texas could be good. For me, I think South Carolina is the best team to challenge UConn. But I think UConn probably finishes the season undefeated. By the way, undefeated.
Oh, here's my pick for the national championship for the women's side. I'm going to go UConn and UCLA. Little East Coast, West Coast showdown.
I love that.
And my winner will be UConn. I think they cut down the nets. And although with UCLA, I really like their roster around Brianna Betts. They have a very good team, They're well coached.
Yeah, UCLA is well-rounded.
I think UCLA's a great, well-rounded team. I think UConn's gonna have a perfect season continued.
I think so. I think that we're gonna see a 41-0 UConn team this year, and you know what? I think that Gino Auriemma, at this point in his career,
here's the thing: does UConn miss Paige Beckers? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either. They're dominant this year.
I wonder who do you think their best player is this year on the women's team? Player?
So far, I'm looking at UConn's roster from top to bottom.
Ozzie Fudd, she's good.
I think Ozzie Fudd is probably their best player. I also really like. Sarah Strong's really good as well.
Really good.
Yeah, like this team is loaded, but I think Ozzie Fudd is the catalyst behind it all.
Oh yeah, she's kind of like the new Paige Beckers in UConn.
I feel like the amazing thing with Gino Auriemma, he's been around for such a long time, and I feel like every year he always finds this one gem every generation, and he just continues to produce talent after talent after talent. And if UConn wins another national championship, I think this will only enhance Gino Auriemma's legacy as probably the best coach in college overall. Period.
I don't think he's ready to retire yet. If you look at it.
Oh no, he's got plenty left in the tank. He's got a lot left.
And UConn is going to play UConn. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I want to watch UConn women's basketball. I love that program.
I know
everything about what UConn women's basketball is.
Yeah, UConn women's hoops is probably just it's something of its own. It's like a tradition that they take pride in, and I think UConn, the way they've been in women's hoops for all these years, I think Gino Auriemma is at the head of that, and it's kind of amazing how he just refuses to slow down and light up at this stage of his life.
I also want to see Cal Baptist take on UCLA. That's at 7 o'clock my time on Saturday at the Poly Pavilion.
Wow.
And I think UCLA will beat them. But anyways,
Oh, yeah, it's going to be
have a
easy.
good night.
Good night, everybody.